You're listening to The Extraction, conversations on the systems and strategies behind dental practice growth with Colin Ambler and Kyle Bergman. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Extraction. Your host, Kyle Bergman, here with my co-host, Colin Ambler, co-founder, CEO at TeamCare. And today we have a special guest, Managing Director at Global Strategic, Greg Brooks. Greg, welcome to the pod. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Say a little tired. Just got back from a trip to visit some of our team members in Central America, but glad to be here. Appreciate y'all having me on.
Awesome. What part of Central America were you in?
We were right in Panama City, Panama. So got a nice view of the canal, Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. It's a cool spot to be.
Amazing. So for those listening, we are going to be doing things a little bit different today. We are going to be showing very deliberately, very methodically, a playbook, maybe the playbook when it comes to growing a successful practice. And it revolves around hygiene reactivation. Today, Colin is going to be doing screen share, going into the TeamCare app, showing you how exactly we are fixing things in this broken world of hygiene reactivation. And we're also going to be sharing how Greg is playing a role in that with his team at Global Strategic. But to take a step back for a second, Greg, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what Global Strategic is?
Yeah, definitely. So, like you said, name's Greg Brooks. I'm the managing director here at Global. What Global is we are kind of tip of the spear, one of the leading service providers in the business process outsourcing space, which is a mouthful. But what it basically means is we help small businesses, dental offices, orthopedic offices, family practices utilize offshore talent. Our offices are located, we've got 6 in the Philippines, and then the one I just mentioned in Panama, that's soon to be 2 in Panama. We help with a lot of the back office function and act as kind of a full service recruitment, onboarding, training, and management tool to help practice owners really scale their operations. When I say we were talking a little bit before we kicked off here, but the world became such a smaller place during COVID in terms of finding great talent, right? You were no longer limited to Philadelphia or Toronto or Dallas, right? You could now go and look for somebody in Panama or Mexico or the Philippines who can do the job just as well and may allow for some more economies of scale, right? Somebody who maybe you can afford to hire 3 people instead of just the one person that your office needs. So we act as kind of that middleman to both help on the recruitment side, finding great people's hard no matter where you are in the world. We feel like we are, the experts in doing that. And then we also help our practice partners get set up for success when onboarding employee, from scoping out jobs, creating training material, and then eventually having the team member go live and managing their day-to-day outputs and KPIs.
Global Strategic really has a lot of, it sounds like, flexibility or in terms of the different types of industries that you service. But we met last year at a dental trade show, and it seemed like that was really the beginning of when Global Strategic started to focus on dental. And so can you tell us a little bit about why you got interested in the space?
Yeah, no, definitely. So a little background there. I founded another outsourcing company before coming to work with my now partners here at Global. We've really, for the better part of 18 years, specialized a lot in the industry of real estate. So everything from, property managers to mortgage servicers, debt collection, as well as like large scale vacation rental association rental management. So when you talk about hyper localized business, right, where if you're renting a house, your property manager has an office either on site or right around the corner. We've really been able to bring solutions to, what we feel like is the heart of America from the businesses that people own, right? The small, local, regionalized business. I had an experience at a past company where, especially during COVID, there was a huge need for employees. I mean, it's funny to say, like, remember when it was really only like 3-4 years ago, but there was such a shortage of employment. People were getting furloughed. People were scared to come out of their houses. And especially in the dental world, I mean, it was just hard to find somebody who could sit at the front office, right? And just check people in. I mean, in some states, you couldn't even have somebody that sat there. So we had a close connection through a business partner. The father had been a career dentist for over 25 years. And he said, I think this could be something that could work. in the dental community. And I think it's something that's desperately needed. So now, kind of full circle here, we've spent the better part of 2 years at Global kind of flushing out and devising, let's say, basically the program that we're about to give everybody the inside track on today, because we feel like we know two things. Number one, dentists, doctors, they have a crazy job, right? You go to medical school to be a dentist, then you start your business, and now every single day you get to be chief practitioner and CEO. And a lot of us have families and would like to actually get home, and wearing those two hats is just very difficult. So, from a human capital standpoint, we feel like we have a special skill set in terms of hiring great people, managing great people on the non clinical side to help maximize and create what we call a process driven practice, where it's not just coming in and dealing with, oh, yep, Sally quit today. We got to go hire her. Or, oh, we got to get to our back billing, and we have 25 hygiene calls that we've got to reschedule. We feel like we're really good on the operational side to help a dentist still maintain control of their practice while also creating a practice that's run more like a business from the back office operations side. And then really here over the past 7-8 months, we've really honed in on really the topic of today's conversation is the hygiene recall. And again, that kind of coming into the fact that most dentists are dentists, right? They're great at providing world-class patient care. They're great at doing the medical side of the practitioner side of the job. But when it comes to hygiene recall, it's essentially a lead funnel, right? So guys like me in sales, that's what I talk about all day, every day. But for a dentist, creating strategies to get people into the door, to make sure that their treatment plans are up to date, to make sure their x-rays are up to date, creating tactics and strategies around that, having the technology where you can track it so it's efficient might not be a dentist's wheelhouse. So that's kind of where we've landed today. And we feel like we've created a very special product with the partnership of TeamCare to really fill a massive void in, I think, almost every dental office across the US and Canada.
Yeah, totally. Greg, thanks for all that. I think you're hitting the nail on the head, and I think your timing is so spot on. The kind of start of Team Care, for listeners that maybe don't know me, it started from our own in-office needs. My wife's a dentist, and we've scaled a dental practice. We have 14 operators, we have 7 doctors. We have a big team of 50 people now. And early days in that, the advice, and it's well known within the industry that there's such a leaky bucket that happens in these dental offices. They're losing patients all over the place, and you want to reactivate them. You want them to come back in. People just naturally fall off the curve. Nobody wants to go back to the dentist and stay on this regimented 6 months. But like, there's a gap there of like, how do we do this? Where is this list? Who are these patients? How do I find them? And then I think there's like another gap of like, how do we reach out to them? Offices are busy, and I guess we started to see offices started to use our tool, and I'm going to share it in a second, of starting to actually, the true story was that I would look at my Google Analytics of where our active users were around the world, and I would see all these people like in different foreign countries. And I was like, who are these users that are like logging into our platform? At first I thought it was like hackers or something like that. And then I realized that our offices were getting smart about this, and they were starting to delegate this to virtual assistants like yourself. And they were looking at their office members a little bit differently and saying, oh, listen, I know there's a lot of stuff to do in a day, but we can prioritize the stuff that is important for you to do in office with in-person people. And some of these other tasks, such as reactivation, they were delegating to virtual assistants. And so we started to see this business evolving. And I'm like super excited to be working with you guys because you have such amazing experience with running teams and training them and stuff like that. And so, long story short, the reactivation came from a very practical place. And then we saw a lot of offices that wanted to delegate this and have it outsourced and didn't really have a place to do it. You can maybe answer this question. If you're a standard dentist and you don't have the luxury of global strategic, what do you do? And how do dentists contact you?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, honestly, for a lot of dentists, it's just like that day-to-day operational, we call it like the mud, you know what I mean? Where you're trying to solve problems. For a lot of people, it's they try to take not the easy way out, but the path of least resistance. Without a business like ours, they're posting the ad to hire another person locally that can sit there and do their billing or can do their confirmation calls or they're asking their hygienist, hey, spend an hour of every day, use a platform like TeamCare, or honestly, for a lot of people, it's just go into your PMS, or maybe you have an Excel sheet if you're, technologically advanced like that. And it's just, hey, go hit the kill sheet, call, and try to book some people. And really what it does is we're big on putting people in the seat where they can best perform. And let's just be honest, if you're asking your hygienist team or your front office clerk or whoever to go make those calls, they probably have 900 other things that they got to be doing as well. Because most
Hmm.
offices don't have the luxury of overstaffing certain positions, but also it creates people and kind of dilutes their attention and their focus. Whereas, especially with something like reactivations, we can build such a nice tight box around it, and through technology like yours, through the talent and skills that our people have, we can have someone that's their core focus. And just because of the economies of scale, and that's where outsourcing is great, is you can get a 30, 40, $50 an hour type employee from college educated, their ability, their skill set, their ability to work independently, and you can offshore it and get that same person for 10, 12, $14 an hour. Right. So it's just those economies of scale where we're very fortunate. And like you said, a lot of that back office operation, it's happening on the phone or on the computer or in your PMS anyways. So as long as you're, able to give somebody an email and set them up with logins, doesn't matter if they're sitting here or Belarus, like they can they can get the work
Yeah.
done.
And so one of the things I'm starting to show here is the actual inside of our product, TeamCare, that gets logged in. One of the things that enabled this, correct me where I'm wrong, is that trying to delegate access into a dentist's actual PMS system is like a hard thing to do. You got to maybe set up like a remote connection or something like that and do that. It's all web-based. And so what you see here is this list, and we really pride ourselves on having like the most accurate list at all times. You mentioned that some folks might be dumping these things into a spreadsheet and trying to keep track of it. What we found was that that list is immediately outdated. You dump that into a spreadsheet, and then the phones are ringing, schedules changing, people are scheduling, unscheduling, rescheduling. All of those changes are outdated in the spreadsheet. And the risk that you have from not having an up-to-date list is sort of embarrassing or off-putting customer interactions. You call a patient and you say, "Hey, I'm calling you for schedule your hygiene appointment." And the patient's like, "What are you talking about? I scheduled last week." And the problem was that they're working off of a list that's outdated. And so our list is constantly reactive to every patient's status in the practice management system. And number one, it's identifying them. Everyone is at least 6 months eligible, right? And so it's like all of these people are due to come in today. We're not calling anybody that's going to be not eligible within their hygiene cycle. And then number two, when we look at the patients, every single patient on this list has no scheduled appointment for hygiene. Okay. And so they're due and they're unscheduled, which means that they need a phone call. And once they get a phone call, we keep track of the activity. Okay. So we have this make attempt form, and it shows them the script of what the office wants them to say over the phone, because people really don't always know what it is to say. It's like they're not doing this all the time. And once the attempt is made, you pick up the phone and call the patient. We record the outcome of the phone call. Okay. And a lot of these end up being voicemails. And so after a voicemail, we send a text message automatically to the patient with an online booking link so that they can click on that link and go back into the schedule on their own terms. And or we also schedule an automatic follow-up. Okay. In this case, this office has it set up for 20 days. And so all of the callers that are engaging this are, number one, getting credit for their phone calls. And so how many attempts did you make? What were the outcomes of those calls? And then every one of those patients is being put back into a follow-up cycle so that they're always kind of like getting due. And so if we submit this form, this patient's going to be removed from the list so that no other person, either remotely or in the office, is going to call the same patient twice and have like another embarrassing conversation. "Hey, why are you calling me? Someone else just called me 2 minutes ago." I think that's really a common thing that can happen when you're working off of a spreadsheet. And then that's kind of just the workflow of making the attempts. So I know you've seen this more, but is anything you want to say or comment just kind of based off just having access to like a real time? We call this a living list. Any experiences that you've had within dental office just to kind of like react to that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, this is where I think the partnership here between Global and TeamCare is so crucial, because that's what we were saying. Like I said, we do across really all of our different industries we service. We do a lot of customer service calls, a lot of ticketing, and that was kind of the gap that we had within the dental space specifically. Is some of the PMSs, they do have bolt on, or they do have like a reactivation list. The list was outdated. We had a lot of practices where we were having to do exports and VLOOKUPs and clean lists and try to figure out when did we last talk to them. And at the end of the day, we want to be calling people. We want to be providing great patient care. We want to be, bringing revenue into the practice itself by getting these people booked. And we were spending a lot of time double checking, triple checking data, doing a lot of manual touch points to make sure, like you said, we're not calling somebody on Monday and then on Thursday calling them again just because the piece of data didn't get cleaned up. The usability piece, we're big here, kind of being like workforce management experts. That's something that we always strive for at Global, is being able to have a next outcome. Meaning, okay, we called Johnny today and Johnny didn't pick up. We left a voicemail. Well, my team and our management team that manages our callers that do this for dentists, we want to know what was said. We want to be able to pull a call recording and audit that to make sure there was a quality. Like, I know for a lot of
Hmm.
dentists we work with, their initial, concerns are like, hey, I'm a local small town dentist. People know me. I mean, a lot of dentists, it's their name on the building, quite literally, and they don't want the feeling of a call center or somebody from overseas calling. Well, the tools like this are what allow us to really curve that to where the scripting, like you saw, was in there fully laid out where there can be minimal errors there. But then just like the little things that off put patients, where you call them on a Monday and then accidentally they fall back on the list and we call them on a Thursday because we forgot to delete them from the Excel sheets. This platform allows us to track all of that, audit calls, see what was said in a voicemail. There's a text option, there's an email option. So quite literally every single time an agent goes in and they click on, say, John here on the top listing, they can see when was the last attempt, when were they last in, what text message, what email did I send last time, so they can get the context, so it can be a more natural and flowing question, so that it feels like it's somebody local calling, as opposed to, like you said, a call service that's just trying to bang through numbers and just, call because they're getting paid on a per dial basis.
Right. Yes. Everyone kind of knows this could be effective. And I think that workflow allows it to be delegated to people like yourself. But I think one of the things that we have gone like an additional step with that I want our listeners to kind of hear is about the results. Okay. There's a level of accountability here, and I'm showing everyone this leaderboard, as we like to call it, the reactivation leaderboard that shows the number of attempts across the board of how many people, either staff members or remote dialers, like how many people have they contacted? That's what we call an attempt. And the important thing is that nobody, like you just said, that the way we look at this, it's not about the number of attempts. It's actually about the number of attended patients. How effective are your attempts? And what we see is that there's a big volume game here. You got to just put a lot of calls out to the world in order for this to come in. Okay. We're cold calling people. And so one of the things that we see is, well, I'm going to switch this one tab. I'm going to show, sometimes when you're on like a cooking channel, you just they put it in the oven, and then 2 seconds later they show you the perfectly cooked chicken. And so I'm showing this page here, and this is why it's important to listeners to understand like what the return on this is. How much money are we getting out of this? And in other words, how much money are people risking losing by not doing this? And so I'm pulling up a report here, and we make this available to everyone. And we show how many patients, okay, we made all these attempts. That was great. We sent text messages. We managed the list. We got the right people. We reached out to them. And in this month, we know that, okay, out of these people that were contacted, we got 85 patients back into the door. And we know that, again, because we're completely connected with the practice management system. We know that when we called Greg Brooks, okay, that we give a grace period and we say, okay, well, we're going to give 30 days to Greg. And if Greg shows up and posts an appointment within the practice management software, we know that Greg came in because we called him. And so we count up all those patients. In this case, we have 85. And then once we have those 85 patients identified, we calculate how much production dollars did those patients generate in the office, both when they came in for the first visit and over the next 60 days. And in this case, those 85 patients generated another $32,000 of production, okay, incrementally. Okay. So had we lost those 85 patients, we would have lost out on $32,000 of production. So, in your experience, I know you've worked with us a little while now. How did that number feel to you? Were you surprised by that number? Were you expecting that number? How'd you guys feel about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's definitely it was surprising to actually see it, and I think that's one thing that TeamCare does so well is the visibility on like what it actually looks like. And then me coming from, like I said, obviously outside the industry, a little bit of exposure to it, but obviously, I mean, I've never sat in a chair, I've never cleaned a mouth like that's other than brushing my own teeth every single day. But being a sales professional, right, and running large teams and being on the okay, X amount of sales calls are going to cost us this amount, but this is worth this much value to the practice. Being able to see it through leaderboards like this, and when we really started to dive into the numbers, and kind of one of our aha moments, why this partnership just made so much sense. I was at both a large DSO conference as well as a large ADA conference. And I like to go. We've got a great team who does the booth thing and sits at the booth and interacts with all the dentists. But I like to go and actually listen to what these panels say. And between those two conferences and back-to-back weeks, most of these conferences, for those that haven't been to them, they always end with like, what's the one thing if you could leave the room, one lasting message, right? A big kind of bow on top, hoorah. And in the span of about 3 weeks at two separate conferences, five separate large CEOs of both individual practices as well as the DSOs said, all of this cool technology, this AI, everything that's out in that convention hall, we love these vendors. They're great. But the one thing that every dentist needs to be aware of is that if you don't have a plan for hygiene recall, none of that matters because you don't have people coming in the door. And then kind of like what you're saying. Well, then I go, okay, that makes sense. That's in my language, lead generation, right? If they're not coming in, if you don't have updated treatment plans, you don't know what you need to be doing. So yes, that makes sense. So let's look at some of the numbers. And it kind of blew my mind, Colin, being an outsider, getting very familiar and going deep into the weeds where for a lot of dentists, they don't realize that if you don't see a patient within a year and a half, over 60% of those patients won't ever be back to your practice. So you're looking at all these marketing companies and websites, and trust me, we do it too, like giving all the money to Google. So you're the first hit, blah, blah, blah. And what we really found in kind of our market study was dentists have so much opportunity just in that existing patient database. And they're trying to almost chase the next flashy thing or get the next new marketing or figure out the next way to grow their practice through acquisition or whatever. When they're sitting on this little untapped, little well of oil. I'm in Texas, so this little oil well that's right there. And if they just spent more time and put strategies like hygiene recall in place, you very quickly start to see numbers. I remember when we first started beta testing with a couple of TeamCare customers, doing this for them, having our teams go in and like basically be on the leaderboard that you're seeing, do a fully done for you hygiene recall program, just making all the calls, putting people on the calendar and making sure they attended. A, it was amazing to see how our teams performed, but B, how quickly that incremental revenue went up. And I know the prices vary around the country, but when you figure even just on the hygiene side, average hygiene appointment is anywhere from 400 to upwards of $2,000 in revenue on the front end. Those numbers, even if you're just getting an incremental 10 per week, 20 per week, those are real dollars coming into your office that can help not only can kind of keep you in business, but also help you grow and help you scale and buy the next office. But then when you start looking at what those treatment plans start leading to on a patient care side and a revenue side for you, the dentist, like it's the linchpin, right? It's the center. Hygiene recall is the center of kind of everything that's going on in that practice, and it's amazing to see how quickly patients start coming back, right? If you just give them the courtesy of a call, or I mean, you might not get them the first month. You make that second call the second month. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. I meant to call you back. Awesome. How does Tuesday look? Boom. It's 2 days later and they're in the office. But just like also seeing it kind of the long tail of it to having someone on a treatment plan, having updated x-rays, the additional preventative treatment that starts coming into play where we're not catching it when it's the worst case scenario root canal, but we're actually making sure our patients are happy throughout the whole life cycle of it is, I think that's been kind of the biggest like eye popping moment from our time working together.
Yeah, thank you. And so one of the things I think that you guys have come in line with us with is ability not to look at this as attempts and rather look at it as results, patients that are in the chair, and making that a little bit of a risk-free offer to dentists. Hey, we'll do this for you. And the process is so formulaic. What we see in this is approximately we get a 10% return rate on the number of attempts. And so if we make 500 phone calls, we're going to get about 50 patients. And we see that across lots of big number, hundreds of thousands of attempts a month we record through TeamCare offices and people like you that are using it as an outsourced service. And so I think there's a high level of trust that you can say is like, okay, we're going to do these attempts. And then when the patients come in, that's when we're going to recognize like payment of some sort. Have you? I don't want to speak out of turn. That's the way you guys are offering it to your offices, right? That you're going to make payment once you get the patients in the door and once we register them in team care, right?
Yeah, exactly right. We set this up because that was something else. We knew we have we have had clients that were running practices, but that was something we were running into as well. Is we wanted to find kind of a low barrier to entry product to service this, and to give some background to everybody kind of listening. Our service, our standard billing is typically we kind of scope out a job description, whether it's hygiene reactivation, whether it's confirmation calls, billing, kind of whatever the job function is, and then typically a dentist will hire a full time equivalent, an FTE, from us at 40 hours a week. And those prices range from about $2,000 a month to upwards of $2,600 a month. Still, like I said, very, very affordable. But what we were seeing was that dentists, I mean, they just didn't have the extra money to be like, okay, I'm going to sink 2,500 bucks in this because A, because they're the new ad campaign or said, spending money with Google. So the beauty of our program with this is everything that we're kind of showing here, we do it for you. As the dentist, you can be as involved or as not involved as you want. We're going to send you the reports. We're going to keep you updated on your campaigns. We're going to call audit and make sure the quality's there for everybody, all of your callers who are calling for your office without you having to worry about that. I know for some offices, like a technology adoption, even at my company, I'm sure it's the same at yours, Colin. Technology adoption is always something that's hard. And kind of going back to where we started this conversation, when you're the CEO and the dentist, it's even harder to find the time to run the training, you train your office managers so that they know, so that they can it's a lot, right? To just to get people on board and not really know what the return is going to be. So the great thing about this program is we leverage this technology, we leverage our great people in our management, and we do everything kind of soup to nuts, A to Z for you without other than just getting your account set up and linking your PMS. The office, the office manager doesn't have to lift a finger. It's allowed for us to create a program where it's a pay on performance program, meaning we'll get you set up, we'll do all the linking, we'll get your PMS in there, we'll get your account set up, we'll get our team members in there calling on behalf of your practice. You start to see that hygiene calendar fill, and you don't have to pay it, and it's $30 per attended appointment is all. Until that person's in the seat, you don't pay us a dollar, and it's only once they've attended that appointment do we then run the card essentially and collect the fees from you.
How cool is that? It's like what this world we're living in 2025, literally for no dollars down, no risk, for $30, and then you guys are gonna front the work, and this technology tool delegated to someone overseas is like waving a magic wand, and people are just showing up in my schedule. It's
Exactly.
am it's amazing, and then I only have to pay $30, and we all know the average patient value in the US is $750 approximately. That's where we scope it across the board. So, it's like if you're not even a business person, would you pay $30 to get
Sorry.
$750? Like, easy,
Exactly.
easy, and with no risk. Like, you guys are willing to front the work. You're so confident that it works that you only have to pay on the patient that actually comes in. And I actually years ago I worked with a service at our office that was doing this, and they would charge me for scheduled appointments. And then I would see these things show up on my schedule, and I was like, "Oh, that was cool." And then all of them would cancel, 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 cancel. And I'd get a big bill for it. And I canceled the service almost within an immediate month. Like it just wasn't worth it. And so I think for a lot of dentists out there, like this is such a home run. This is a no-brainer. It's like you a lot of people already have the team care, and you're not getting the volume, the results that you want from your staff doing this. It's just like it's easy to happen in an office. You get trailed off, you get busy, you're starting to do stuff. And even insofar as like, hey, listen, if this can be done remotely, why are we spending our time in office doing it? It's like I can go present treatment plans. I can have an extra long conversation with a patient to make them feel good. There's so many things in office that the in office staff can be prioritized to do the things that can only be done in office. If this can be done overseas and it can be effective, and we made the wave the magic wand, and these people just show up and let us greet them and have a great experience, like, why not? I think this is such a home run and such a great thing for dentists out there. I love that we're partnered with this, and I love that you guys are having such great results with it.
And just to be a skeptic for a second, if you're listening, we're kind of bashing you over the head figuratively with why TeamCare and Global Strategic are the greatest thing since sliced bread. But if you are a doer who likes to DIY things, here's the playbook. Create a living list of reactivation candidates. Living in the sense that it is constantly adding and removing patients based on their eligibility and outreach attempts. Create a living list. Number 2, create your monthly call goal. And we recommend that that's equal to your total current hygiene patients. If you have 100 people coming in a month, make your recall goal 100 attempts. The third, get your team to pick up the phone and accurately track outcomes. Good luck with that. But that's number 3. And number 4, text message after you leave a voicemail with an online booking link. That's the playbook. Greg talked about how multi-million dollar DSOs are saying this is the only thing you should focus on, and that is how you do it. Now, the cold hard truth is that you know this will work, but your spreadsheet system sucks. And it's not that your staff can't do it, but they don't have the technology or the competency or the means to necessarily do that. And so TeamCare and Global Strategic are changing that, giving you the opportunity to do hygiene recall at scale and very affordably.
That's what I would tell everybody as well. Colin and I aligned very early on this. His team's great to work with. If you want to know how to run this program, whether it's by yourself, whether it's, hey, even just you want to get the TeamCare technology and do it yourself, I'll give you the playbook. There's no secrets here. You know what I mean? But it's the time, it's the expertise, it's the tracking. And like you said, with the team members that are in office, it's like you said, it's not that they can't do it. It's that bottom line, most of them don't want to. And B, like, if you're a hygienist, you didn't become a hygienist to go bang cold calls all day. It's just bottom line. So
Right.
have fun. Go give your top performing hygienist, go a mandate of 100 calls a week to go touch and book her calendar, and then go look for a new hygienist in 2 weeks when she quits. Like, that's kind of how simple.
That's exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And
So
I think like when I saw, and you guys, I mean, I've seen you on some calls, and I think it's like one of the questions that I was like stunned by is that you were asking a practice owner, well, how many patients do you want? And treating it like that. It's like, we'll fill your schedule as much as you want us to. You need 50 patients, you need 100 patients, done. We got it. Like, it's amazing. You can really just make it a numbers game, something that your staff is not really going to do, like you said, or if you make them do it, they'll quit, and we'll just fill your schedule for you and let your best hygienist do hygiene and do what she does best. It's such a great division of labor.
100%. And it's nice too, because like obviously the program, how we run it, it's a widget. It's literally a plug and play. It's one 30-minute call to get set up on TeamCare if you don't already use it, and to get your PMS set up with us. So we have access to get the calendar. Boom, you're done. 30 minutes, our teams are dialing an hour later. But the fun part is just had a call earlier this week with one of our offices we're doing this for. And they were like, hey, we're seeing a gap between like 4 to 8. We just expanded our hours to try to hit the after work crew.
Amazing.
And we would love, so we're like, perfect, 2 script changes. Instead of calling and saying, hey, I'm so-and-so with such dental practice, you're due for hygiene, want to come in? Now our sales experts that do this for you say, hey, I see you're eligible for a cleaning. We'd love for you to come in. We have a space tomorrow at 7:30 at night. You want to come in? Oh,
Hmm.
no, that doesn't work for me. Okay. What about 5:30 on Friday? And it's that suggestive selling that, like you said, other partners, some
Wow.
dentists might not even pick up on something like that. They're like, wow, he keeps booking mornings, but you work with an expert who knows how to do it. Those are the solutions that we bring to you to make sure that calendar is balanced.
It's so important what you just said. I'm so glad you brought that up. We see it across all offices. I see it in my own office, I hate to say, is that staff have a bias, right? They like to get out of work and leave early. They're working those evening shifts and oops, no patience. Guess I get to go home early. And when you put someone that's making these calls and making these suggestions that doesn't have that bias involved, sure enough, those 7 p.m. appointments fill. Like it's not that patients don't want them. The problem is that staff don't offer them. And so I think that's an awesome point that is important across the board. It's like I've even had that feedback from some of those people. It's like our finally our 7 p.m. appointments are filling. So that's awesome. I love that.
Definitely. Just it's aligning the outcomes, you know what I mean? It's obviously for a practice that's open to offer after hours, they want those seats filled. And it even comes back to like how we bill for it. There's lots of services that are out there that are, hey, every number we dial, it's gonna be $2. Or like you said, the service you used to work with, where it's just, hey, it's just scheduled. Well, for us, how we view it for our dental partners is they don't care how many calls get made, and they don't care how many people are on the actual calendar if they don't show up. So it's just aligning those expectations where everybody kind of has skin in the game, and we're building towards the outputs, because then, like you said, our conversations with our partners become something like that. Hey, we have a gap between 5 and 8 that we only get like 30% fill rate on those calendar appointments. Whereas if you're working with a service that's maybe compensated just based on the number of dials, if they say, hey, well, the answer is, okay, we'll make more dials. And like, that's not the answer. The answer is, hey, let's tweak the script. Let's work more in the box that you want built for your practice so we can spread the work out. So we feel like obviously the partnership with you guys has been great, and with our dental partners as well, because we feel like everyone's aligned in the right way to where we're actually driving, at the end of the day, we're driving great patient care. Like that's it. People need to be getting in there. If practices are losing over 50% of their people if they don't see them in a year and a half, that's not good for anybody. It's not good for the person's health. It's not good for the health of local small business, dental practices. So it helps there, but then it also aligns with kind of, where the practice wants to get to overall.
And
Amen.
let's not forget just patient care, everything. We need these people to get back in the office. But I'm sure every dental practice owner out there wouldn't mind having an extra 30K in the bank every month.
And a few less headaches from the team, and they're like, hey, go make your 100 phone calls today, and it's like, no, I'm not doing that, right? A little less headaches too. That's always nice.
So Greg, I mean, this has been really great. Obviously, we love pumping our own tires, and it's a pleasure to do it with you. For listeners that are really fired up now about everything that we're talking about, where can they find you and work with you?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say anyone that has any questions, we've got some great source material as well. Like we said, we'll give away the playbook. It's the time, it's the management. That's the hard part of this, right? That's why we have businesses. So anyone that has any additional questions, reach out to myself directly. So greg.brooks@globalstrategic.com. I'm sure it'll be in the show notes as well. Or visit our website, globalstrategic.com. There's a nice little pop-up chat bar that comes in there if you want a live chat, if you want to just kind of fill out a form and have us reach out to you. But would love to kind of talk to anybody, whether it's, hey, you're interested in the service, I need this now, hand out front of line, or if it's like, hey, I'd like to see some of that source material, talk through some more particulars with your practice, would love to do that. And then we'll also be with the TeamCare team next week at the ADA conference up in DC. So we'll have a big booth there. We'll be there Wednesday to Saturday. So if you're planning on attending, and I'm not sure if this goes out before then, it's October 23rd, but if it drops before then, feel free to swing by there as well.
Greg, man, it was a pleasure having you on The Extraction. Thank you so much for helping us share the most valuable playbook in the dental game and how you are playing such a significant role in it for your practice partners. Thank
Yep.
you.
I appreciate you having me on. It's been great talking.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you for listening to The Extraction with Colin Ambler and Kyle Bergman. Read episode notes and transcripts at teamcaredental.com.